Hello, you guys. This is Stove here, and we are going straight into the review on Week 4 of the NFL regular season. A lot of crazy things happening. A lot of things that wasn't necessarily expected, going from a crazy overtime game to just it turning out to be a tie. A few games going the way that some people may have not have thought about it going to. I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, and hopefully we can get this done real quick so I can hopefully get to another recording where I'm going to be talking about the next week's college football. Hopefully, either that or NFL. I'm still thinking about it. But anyway, let's get right into it. You obviously had the Steelers and Vikings in Dublin, fairly good for the most part for the Steelers. Now the Vikings, they only scored 6 points in the first half. They didn't score a single point in the third, so they were pretty much down 21-6, trailing by, I believe, 15 points, and was able to score 15 points in the fourth quarter, but unfortunately had some penalties not go their way. I'm forgetting the Darshgarn penalty, but there was some penalty the last the last two drives between the Steelers offense and the Vikings offense. I think there was like 5 or 6 penalties throughout that. And those 5 to 6 penalties kind of basically put the Steelers into a solid position to get a good solid field goal to win the rest of it. So pretty good that the Vikings were able to come back. What sucks is that Carson Wentz did still throw an interception, technically two, but it was called back, and there could have been a lot more going for their offense, the Vikings offense, but the Steelers just kept it how they wanted it. And like I said, penalties did lean more towards the Steelers in that game, but props to both teams for fighting it out in that last fourth quarter. Though we may want to look back at the Steelers allowing 15 unanswered points. It could have been a complete shutout the last two quarters, but you never know with the Vikings. So obviously, last time we talked about the NFL, I said that the Vikings were going to win. They ended up losing. Same with the Commanders. I said that the Commanders were going to win at the Falcons' place, and they actually end up losing, with the whole thing being that the Commanders not getting a single point in the first quarter, which Michael Penix Jr. did play a phenomenal game, 20 for 26, 313 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Bijan Harrison wasn't necessarily the a huge aspect to this win, but at the same time since he did get a touchdown, he did have 75 yards rushing, and I'm pretty sure he still had like 30 or 40 receiving yards as well. But I'm glad to see that Drake London was able to finally get put in, was able to catch a few balls, actually got more targets this game than I feel like he has in the last 3 games. I may be wrong on that, but just the way things have been going for the Falcons offense, that's what I've been seeing. But yeah, so you had that offense playing exactly how they needed to play at home. Same with the defense. Now, granted, they still allowed 27 points from the second quarter all the way until the end of the fourth quarter, almost allowing the Commanders to fully come back and tie the game, but was able to cut them out in that fourth quarter, those last few minutes. And I think Marcus Mariota could have done a lot better, but just with all the injuries that are going on with the Commanders right now, between offensive and defensively, it is not going to be very good for the Commanders for a little bit until we get to see Jaden Daniels back at the helm, which hopefully should be this coming weekend, hopefully. But anyway, so Falcons solid win at home. You have the Bills, who I said was going to win against the Saints. That was a no-brainer. But the Saints still did put up a solid showing at Buffalo. So wasn't necessarily like complete dominance by the Buffalo's part, but still the Buffalo Bills still did exactly what they needed to do. Pass the ball a little bit for Josh Allen, but also let James Cook run the ball 20 plus times and give himself over 100 rushing yards. And I'm pretty sure here soon, as long as he does not get injured, you will see him get between 15 to maybe even 1,700 rushing yards, and on his way to getting at least 14 to 16 rushing touchdowns as well. So him and him and Jahmyr Gibbs as well. Which, speaking of Jahmyr Gibbs, we're going right into the Lions game, which I also said that the Lions were going to win that game, even though the Browns did put up a solid showing and got their first win against the Lions division rivals in Green Bay. Still, I was not expecting, actually, looking at it, Joe Flacco did throw more passing yards than Jared Goff did, so that's interesting. St. Brown had 7 for 70 with 2 receiving touchdowns, so solid showing for him. Jahmyr Gibbs with 15 carries, 91 yards, and 1 touchdown as well. Like I said, between James Cook and Jahmyr Gibbs, I think that's going to be the showing running backs that we're going to see, as long as they, of course, don't get injured, or unless we see Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley come right up back behind them, which, again, I wouldn't be surprised if those two are still in the top 5 for stats whenever it comes to rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, or hell, even just scrimmage yards in general. So, solid win by both the Bills and the Lions, and an absolutely dominating win for the Patriots at home. Finally, they get a win at home. Solid win. Now they're 2-2. Bryce Hall was able to play a slightly good, but did unfortunately get benched for Andy Dalton playing the rest of the fourth quarter, I believe. It might have even been a little bit in the third quarter. But Drake May played an almost near perfect game with 14 for 17, 203 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Some rushing was, back and forth, but it was really more of just the passing game that took everybody, took the whole game by storm. And Stephon Diggs finally coming out to play with 6 catches and 101 receiving yards. Solid play by that dude. Hopefully, as long as he doesn't get injured, I know he's a little bit on the older side now, but hopefully if he doesn't get injured, you will see more Stephon Diggs. And I would not put it past you if you decided either before the next handful of games are on this coming weekend, or even next weekend if he performs well again, I wouldn't put it past you if you wanted to put him on your fantasy team if you have nobody else to swipe from. Now, this is going to be kind of weird because I think a lot of people weren't exactly expecting it, but like I said before, if you go back to my last NFL, my preview for this week, I did say if you get Jackson Dart, if you start Jackson Dart, you will win. Start Dart and you will win games. And what happens? Dart ends up helping the Giants and Scadaboo, both of these guys, young guys, help absolutely not crush, but absolutely take the game away from Justin Herbert and the Chargers no longer being undefeated, losing at the Giants field. So it was very nice to be able to see Brian Campbell Brian Daboll, keep on saying Campbell whenever I think of his name, but Brian Daboll was able to finally trust in Jackson Dart and be like, you know what, we had a little bit enough of the Russ bus, so we're going to put Jackson Dart, we're going to throw it until it sticks. And let me tell you, even though you don't see the stats right there on the screen that you're looking at, I'm telling you, it is absolutely incredible that Jackson Dart was able to, I think, run for like 40, 50 yards while also throwing for like 180 passing yards and a touchdown. Now, unfortunately, we did see Malik Neighbors, his number one receiver, get terribly injured and definitely will not come back for the rest of the season. Whether or not this gives the chance for the Giants to have somewhat of a new offense to build upon between Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo and also some of these other guys. I know we had some interesting things that were going on defense, which that defense very much was tripping up Justin Herbert, but at the same time, Justin Herbert's offensive line hasn't really been that healthy, so they were just taking advantage of it. I can understand that. But the thing is, if Justin Herbert does not get back onto his horse, he's not going to be able to ride off into the sunset as a dominant player for his AFC West division. And at the same time, with the Chiefs also winning against the Ravens, it also is showing that the Chiefs are right behind them just as much as the Broncos are with their win against the Bengals. A dominant win at that, unfortunately. But still, the Chiefs definitely need to focus on whatever the hell that's wrong with them, fix it, come back this coming weekend and hopefully be able to straighten some things out. If it is the offensive line that's what's causing problems, then it's probably going to take maybe more than just fixing a few things here and there, and then bam, offensive line looks good. It will probably take more than 2 to 3 weeks, whether or not the injured offensive line players can come back, or we can finally be able to fix these problems when the Chargers do face some of the other defenses that are in the NFL. But props to the Giants getting their first win, and props to Jackson Dart for getting his debut being a win. So again, solid play. The only thing I would have to say is that if the Chargers are leading by all three of these stats here, obviously it happens when you do have all three stats covered by your team, by your offense. Whether or not it is your entire team that is messing up, it does not matter. This is still something that you should not want to see, and that is you leading the stat chart, but at the same time you still end up losing. Obviously it's by 3 points, but still. It's not something you would ever want to see when you think that the Chargers would be doing better. Now Justin Herbert also throws 2 interceptions, but still something that Justin Herbert and the Chargers offense needs to fix. However, they also need to fix a little few things on their defense, like covering a mobile quarterback, it seems. So, solid play again by Dart, and maybe this puts me into the position of actually thinking more and respecting the Giants a little bit more whenever I have them scheduled against somebody. But we got the Eagles and Tampa Bay. Like I said, I was very torn with this game specifically because Tampa Bay was going to be at home, which they did offer challenge, but it wasn't until the second half that they did so. Baker Mayfield looked very confused out there against Philadelphia's defense, and what didn't help is that obviously you can see here fake tush push and the special teams touchdown helps the Eagles beat the Bucs 31-25. Obviously, the special teams for the Eagles have been one of the main catalysts to be leading the Eagles right now. You look at the amount of points that they're actually getting from special teams, surprisingly enough, is very key to their success. One of the few keys there to their success. And I'm not saying it's the only thing just because I'm talking about it. I'm just saying the more we're seeing that, we're like, okay, cool. But at the same time, we need to see more of this. Because obviously the Eagles weren't trying to step on their throats, it looked like. Either that, or it just showed that Tampa Bay was trying to come back, and they were able to hold the Eagles to 7 points in the second half. Which, props to them, if that is so. However, it still shows that the Eagles aren't exactly passing as much as I think that they should. With A.J. Brown saying what he had to say, like right after the game, I'm pretty sure, or like a day after the game, he had some words about him kind of being left out of winning, and I'm sure a lot of sports analysts have their a lot of sports analysts are either have watched the game for many years, longer than I have been alive, or they have played the game for many years and have also been watching the game longer than I've been alive. So a lot of these sports analysts had their own thing about how the Eagles are handling their offense right now. Whatever this offensive coordinator is doing, it is working, but I think can also be the catalyst to their mistakes. It can end up being one of the worst things for the Eagles if we are seeing certain things happen to where they're not getting some of these players onto the field, or they're not handing the ball off to some of these guys. It is literally just Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley are like the only few people that we're seeing out here. Devontae Smith was able to get some stuff. Even Dallas Goedert was able to get some catches here and there, and I think even a touchdown if I'm not mistaken. But still, it is unfortunate that Tampa Bay had lost. Solid game by the both of them. I just think that the Eagles sooner or later will get tested. Now, they're a fantastic team. I think they are undefeated for the obvious reasons that their offense, defense, and special teams are all working together as a cohesive unit, whether or not you're leaving out A.J. Brown, whether or not you're leaving out Saquon Barkley sometimes, whether or not you're leaving out almost the entire passing game for an entire half. seems like it doesn't necessarily matter because these guys are the ones making quick work of a lot of these guys. And obviously the Eagles didn't have to come back in this one. They were actually on the opposite end of a comeback, but obviously they shut that down in the fourth quarter and was able to relax afterwards. Didn't really have to score anymore. They were just wanting to run down the clock. So good on both teams. This shouldn't be anything worrisome for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Tampa Bay is still going to make the playoffs. I think they're still going to be easily a top 4 team in the playoffs for the NFC. Hell, maybe even end up being a top 2 team because of the way that the Packers have been playing. But also, you never know how the Detroit Lions, they've been looking good. So again, you never know. It's really just based on how they look over the next, 13 weeks, I think. But anyway, Houston, I said Houston was going to win. Well, I did also say that the Eagles were going to win, so props to them again. I said Houston was going to win. I thought it was going to be quite close, but with a very slow start from both teams, Houston only being the only team scoring in the first half and then proceeding to be the only team to score in the fourth quarter, getting their rhythm, being able to score almost at will whenever they needed to. 22 for 28, 233 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Solid for Houston, looked nearly unstoppable in that fourth quarter. Props to them, but Tennessee, where the hell are you guys? Because even with Cam Ward, even with some young defensive players, some talented guys on your roster, and you guys still can't even come close to a win. It is very much disappointing that we probably won't be able to see Cam Ward win a game until probably later in the season when some of these other teams really aren't playing for anything. And honestly, if your plan is to already fight for the number 1 draft pick, be my guest. But seems like you guys really aren't going to do much with that, just like how Cam Ward hasn't been able to do very much in the passing game. So, which I'm pretty sure Cam Ward threw for like an interception or 2, unfortunately. But Houston wins that one, so I have that check marked. Rams end up winning against the Colts. Again, just like I was talking about Tampa Bay, I do not think this loss for the Colts is the end-all be-all. The Colts do still look solid. As long as they don't treat this loss like it's the worst thing ever, and they just find it being like, okay, let's move on, let's move past this. We're human, we make mistakes. This is what mistakes give us. Okay, let's go to the next game. So hopefully Colts, they get a game, they get that game in, and they end up winning that game, which I haven't looked at the full week yet. So whenever we go through that, I'm sure they will have a very confident mindset about them going in, whether it be at home or away. They will be able to just knock on the door and say hello and punch their opposing team square in the face. Rams had a solid showing. Matthew Stafford, oh my God. I know you may not see this all the time for Matthew Stafford anymore, but 29 for 41 attempts, 375 passing yards, and 3 passing touchdowns. I think he had like 35 or 37 fantasy points on my fantasy. Obviously, I didn't have him. He was actually on the waiver. So for some of you guys that need a quarterback right now, if you are the unlucky people to have a quarterback who is injured or is going to be on bye, because we are just now starting to have teams on bye now, pick up Matthew Stafford if you guys are feeling lucky, of course. That Matthew Stafford seems to be throwing very good, especially against a young, solid Colts defense that looked almost unstoppable. And we all thought that the Packers defense was good. The Colts look just as good, if not better, consistently anyway. 49ers had some interesting things go on with Brock Purdy. Yes, Brock Purdy did throw for 309 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns, but his completion rating was just unbelievable. He kept on getting pressured. He kept on losing his focus on where to throw, so he's just throwing shit in the air or he's throwing stuff out of bounds. It is going to be a very long season for the 49ers, even with Brock Purdy there. Heck, whenever you have your running back, Christian McCaffrey, I know he's a solid player. I know he still can do what he needs to do. 6 catches for 92 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. Even for a wide receiver, that is solid work. That is pretty damn good. But at the same time, I am not wanting my running back to get those types of catches to where he's getting slammed by a linebacker or slammed by a corner and a safety and gets himself injured, which he has already done several times in the past. You think you would want that for your star player? No, I don't think you guys even wanted that for Brock Purdy, and you guys are lucky that you have him coming back. Which, to be fair, I thought he was going to come back a little later in the season, but I guess not. So, pretty solid work from the 49ers. However, their run game still was actually being quite contained by their running game, and their passing game was getting contained by the Jaguars. Jaguars was able to have a lot of fun between the second and third quarter. It was really just trying to them starting off and then ending off the game wasn't exactly something that they were like really in the mood for. I don't know, like they just had a very good middle, but could have done a lot more in the first and fourth quarter. You know what I mean? It's just something that I would have thought would have been a little bit better. But again, regardless, Jacksonville's defense had pretty solid. Jacksonville's offense and even special teams had some good showing, with Washington, their punt returner, having a punt return touchdown and even 4 takeaways between intercepting Brock Purdy a couple times and even having I think a couple of forced fumbles. So a solid game for the Jaguars, looking a lot better, but still the offense is still a little shaky. I still don't think Trevor Lawrence is in the same mindset as his head coach and the offensive coordinator right now. But again, that's still something that we're going to probably see later on, whether it be in the season or in the off season, maybe even next season, who knows. But I'm still not seeing really any good things or good communication between those two yet. Obviously, they are 3-1, so Jaguars fans are ecstatic that they are 3-1 because they haven't been 3-1, I think, since Blake Bortles was playing for the Jaguars back in 2017 or 2018, I believe. So, again, solid plays. 49ers are also 3-1. Unless Brock Purdy and this offense can shake it up, I don't necessarily really see the 49ers. I think the 49ers may start losing. Who knows? Their defense is kind of all out of whack ever since Nick Bosa got injured, so who knows what may happen for them. Now the Chiefs. Now the Chiefs. I wasn't expecting something like this to happen. I was actually expecting a more back and forth thing. which in the first quarter it was. Then you had total domination on defense for the Chiefs versus Baltimore Ravens. You see Lamar Jackson getting more and more frustrated, which it could be like any quarterback when facing the Chiefs defense. The Chiefs defense is very underrated. I think they had exactly what I thought that they were going to have to be able to contain Lamar Jackson and be able to do what they needed to do to also get the ball rolling. And honestly, it was the best performance that I've seen from the Chiefs. I knew whenever I was watching them play the Giants, there was some stuff that they were able to do that in the first 2 weeks they really weren't able to do successfully or consistently. It was a great showing out for the Chiefs. It shows that they were able to do a lot of different things, and since they're now 2-2, they are just one game behind the division leader, their division leader in Los Angeles Chargers. Yeah, Los Angeles Chargers, or just LA Chargers. But I do have to say, yes, the Ravens got so many injuries. Mahomes did shine with 4 touchdowns. When's the last time we seen Mahomes throw for 4 freaking touchdowns and 250 plus passing yards? You know, it feels like it's been forever. While at the same time, the Chiefs rushing also looked pretty decent as well against the Ravens defense. And again, the Ravens, like I was about to say, the Ravens defense lost, I think, 6 or 7 defenders, starting defenders, just during the game. Who knows how many are going to be able to come back next week, well, this coming weekend. Who knows how many are going to even come back in the next 2 to 3 weeks, because the Ravens defense is still a pretty stacked. I mean, the Ravens schedule is still a pretty stacked schedule, realistically. The Chiefs are also pretty stacked as well, especially with their defense that they're in. It is just something that a lot of people are expecting. Okay, well, even Lamar Jackson got hurt. They didn't necessarily really play Derrick Henry because there was no real chance of winning by the time you hit the end of the third quarter and you guys are down by 24 points. Now, granted, it's possible, but this ain't college. You know, it's really more possible whenever you're in college than it is the NFL pros. So, all that being said, I do feel bad for the Baltimore Ravens. And we're going to see where Lamar Jackson is, and we're going to see where that Ravens defense is. But I'm not really necessarily expecting anybody to be starting Lamar Jackson, because he's most likely going to be out for 2, maybe 3 weeks with the injury that he's dealing with, hamstring or whatever leg injury. Again, I feel bad for him wholeheartedly. But that defense, I don't see anybody playing that defense either on fantasy. Whether you're facing like the worst offense in the league, you still have 6 to 7 injuries, all of them starters, and who knows how many injuries you may accumulate next week or the week after that. Now, granted, it's great reps that these young guys are getting, but I don't see the Ravens getting too many wins if we are seeing Lamar Jackson getting injured, and then we're going to see the defense also getting dismantled. You're really going to have the possibility of the Ravens going like 1-5. And it's unfortunate for Baltimore fans, which I don't think they will go 1-5. Realistically, I think they have a better possibility at going 3-3. But still, it just all matters about how many defensive players you're getting back, how many defensive players are going to be out, or even how long Lamar Jackson is going to be out. Because obviously running and using his legs is the main key factor of one of the reasons why he's so successful. Lately, the last year and a half, realistically, the guy has consistently been able to pass, so he could end up just staying more in the pocket and running less, but that also takes away one of the biggest weapons that the Ravens have, and that is a mobile quarterback running game. So all that being said, props to the Chiefs, and hopefully the Ravens can get well soon, even though I'm a Bengals fan. Bears and Raiders, very much back and forth. Raiders were able to be very consistent with getting points. Same with the Bears, though. It's just the Bears were able to score. Very last thing, held the blocked field goal for the Bears. I don't know what the hell is going on with a lot of these special teams players, but we need to get better at, helping out our corners. Helping out our kickers. I just don't see this happening too often in the last, 3 years. Granted, you'll have, one special weekend where it will happen, 2-3 times. It'll be like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. But it to happen this consistently in the last 2 to 3 weeks, man, this is very crazy. And to be fair, props to both teams facing each other and being able to show how much effort both of them are willing to put in. Ashton Jetty even put on a solid, some solid plays with carrying for 21 yards, getting 138 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. And at the same time, Ashton Jetty also getting 2 receiving touchdowns. So he was pretty much the whole damn offense, which very much irritated me because I had to play against the damn dude on my fantasy team. So I was so frustrated having to see that, and at the same time looking down at my phone and seeing those points pop up. I'm like, no. So very exciting game for the Bears and the Raiders. Bears are now 2-2, so this is going to be pretty interesting whenever we get later and later into the season. The tie that no one saw coming with the Packers and the Cowboys, 40-40. A lot of stats for a lot of different players. Jordan Love, 337 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. Dak Prescott, he had over 330 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Maybe a little bit less passing yards, maybe a little bit more. I can't remember. But I do know that it was somewhere around the same as Jordan Love. Josh Jacobs, 22 carries, 86 rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. George Pickens, only 8 catches, had 10-plus targets, but 134 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. You can't make this up. There's 2 or 3 other either receivers or just playmakers in general that were able to make it so easy to get into the end zone, but yet none of them could really figure out who wanted to win more. Honestly, it is very kind of poetic and puts a smile on the only person's face that would ever smile at something like this, and that is Jerry Jones, where not only did they not lose, but they also didn't win either. They actually tied, and it shows that, this is just Jerry Jones Funhouse at the end of the day. Tying at home, still didn't drop a loss at home, so that's the only thing that counts, I guess, for Jerry Jones. And it creates an even bigger narrative for the trade of Micah Parsons going to the Packers and Jerry Jones having the smile on his face, thinking only about how he can somehow make his team better with the bizarre trade that ended up happening. Which, to be fair, is still a possibility because we have yet to get to those draft picks. Still a possibility. But anyway, so I was wrong on that. I don't think anyone was really expecting a tie from there unless you decided to throw like $100 at it being a tie. Then you won a lot of money there, sir or gal. But anyway, Broncos and Bengals. Obviously, with me being a Bengals fan, this was very upsetting to see. At Denver, I should have known a little bit better, but at the same time, Bo Nix tore up our offense passing-wise. J.K. Dobbins also rushing-wise, tearing our defense a new one. Our offense couldn't do anything. It was absolutely the most disappointing thing that I have seen, and we all saw the Minnesota Vikings. Like, even with no fumbles, this is exactly what would probably happen with the Minnesota Vikings. Less points, but still the same damn result. I don't know what else to say about it, but the Broncos did a solid job at doing what they needed to do offensively and defensively. Bengals, you guys suck. Sorry to say that, but y'all do, and y'all seriously need to get whatever you need to get straight. With Ja'Marr Chase having verbal confrontation or just like talking to Zach Taylor, seeming to be very pissed, and likely so, and understandably so as well, because if I was a star receiver on a team that just got 2-0, and yes, it very much ended very quickly with us now being 2-2, I would be pissed at my head coach thinking, what the hell are we doing out there, offensively and defensively? Can we switch it up? Can we do something? Or are we just going to let the Broncos team walk all over us? Because if I was Ja'Marr Chase, I wouldn't let that happen for our offense. But yet the way we are playing just shows that we have already given up on the season. And you know what? If that's the case, then I wouldn't be surprised if some fans have also given up on the season just as much. But we will again see what happens. We do face the Lions, so I can only imagine what the hell is going to happen if we even decide to score another 3 points, because I think, if my math is correct, we only scored 6 points with allowing over 60 plus points. I mean, that is just straight up ridiculous. You can't, you can't fucking, make anything else up on that. I know I'm cussing a little bit more than I should, but you can't make it up on this. This is something that every single Bengals fan would get irritated with. Now everyone else is just looking at us and pointing and laughing at us like, oh, this is what you get for spending all this money on 2 wide receivers, and then you got a crappy O-line to show for it, and you got this crappy defense to show for it. Yeah, I guess so. You know what? We need a new change of ownership. We need a new change of coaching staff. And whether that just be Zach Taylor or that also be our two different coordinators, different head coach. I'd get our offensive lineman coach that we got from the Cleveland Browns or the New England Patriots, wherever the hell he came from. It was one of those 2 teams. Have him start coaching the damn team. Because I'm getting sick and tired of having to see the same old damn bullshit that everyone else is seeing, and me being mocked as a Bengals fan for having this happen. You know what? I got no control of it. I could just say I'm dealing with it. So, anyway, last thing we're going to talk about, obviously that was a meaningless rant, but last thing we're going to talk about is solid work for the Dolphins. Tyreek Hill is now out for the remainder of the season, so we have actually a lot of not only young guys who are out, but also older guys who are out. So Tyreek Hill will be out for the remainder of the season. Malik Neighbors will be out for the remainder of the season. Speaking of offensive linemen going back to the Chargers game, I don't even know about Joe Alt. I have no idea what's going on with him. If you guys want to comment below or let me know what's going on with him, let me be aware. But there's a lot of injuries going on the first 4 weeks. You don't necessarily really expect it too much until you start to see the wear and tear on people's bodies in the middle and towards the end of the season, and then you start seeing these injuries happen. But man, oh man, this is just getting way, way worse than I thought it could be. Now, the Jets also put up a solid fight in the second half. Justin Fields actually having a solid passing completion percentage, 20 for 27, 226 yards and a passing touchdown. But the Miami Dolphins were able to conjure up a solid rushing, had a solid rushing game, but also was able to outplay the Jets defense. And it was pretty much a coin flip to whoever wanted it more, and it seemed like the Dolphins wanted it more, even with supposedly their star receiver out. But hopefully this can give way to the young offense in Jayden Waddle. And obviously we saw Darren Waller having a solid game at tight end. I don't think, obviously he's not going to be there next year. We'll never know, but we're not going to know until later. But we're going to see hopefully Jayden Waddle and a few other young players like Achane to be able to step up and finally be able to sprout their wings and not have to deal with somebody like Tyreek Hill. And he probably wasn't deemed captain for a reason, and that reason was his attitude. I don't know if he was just high on adrenaline after dislocating his leg and tearing almost all the ligaments in it, but that guy seemed very happy to finally not have to play for the Miami Dolphins the rest of the year. And that may have just shattered the entire relationship between him and the Miami Dolphins. Probably not every single player, but I think the coaching staff definitely have something, and even the ownership of the Miami Dolphins and GM of the Miami Dolphins definitely have to take a good look at what they may or may not want to do with Tyreek Hill, whether they want to trade him, obviously, during the offseason, or they want to just straight up release him and just take the dead cap from the rest of his contract. Because I think he only has 2 years left, which would be this year and next season. So maybe it's more than that, but I don't know, guys. From what I looked at in my notebook, I did get technically 5.5 out of 15 wrong, which means 9.5. Or I could just say I got 9 right and 6 wrong because I got the whole tie thing wrong. But so obviously recap, got the Vikings Commanders wrong, but I did get Bills, Lions, Pats right. Chargers I got wrong. Eagles, Texans, Rams I got right. 49ers very close, but I got them wrong. Chiefs and Bears I got right. Packers I got wrong. Bengals I got wrong, but Dolphins I got right. And hopefully I'll be able to have a time trying to look over those matchups, and hopefully even get a better percentage of getting these right. And you guys can comment down below if you guys want to continue seeing that from me. as always, you guys, I hope you guys enjoy. I know sometimes you don't want to sit through these long videos, but this is kind of just what I do. If you guys enjoy it, please like, please subscribe, please comment down below what you think. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.